Alright guys, and thank you for giving this a watch. Today I'm going to be talking about how we put together this beautiful desk for under $200 if you didn't have any of the materials. We actually are taking one of our old desks and we're going to be using that and then just building on top of it. So realistically, didn't spend more than $60-70 putting this together. So what I'm going to do is walk you guys through. One of the reasons why I think this is so awesome is A, have a lot of time during quarantine, but also the old desk and how many cables were there. For anybody that has a studio, cables are the Achilles heel and just make everything seem so ugly and sticking out. So the goal of this was to eliminate the amount of cables that are shown. So I'll kind of take you guys through the process here that we did to get this set up. Hey, this is Adam with Project S99, and today, since there's so much time with quarantine, we're going to actually do a little desk makeover. So we're going to take our old desk here and we're going to be putting in a second level. We're going to be staining it, and we got these materials here, and this is what we're going to use to make it happen. So let's see how this turns out. So here are the materials I got. I got a little hand sander with some sanding paper. If you have an electric sander, for sure use that. It can take a lot of time. I got the little puppers to help me work. And then some of the paint rollers to apply some of the paint or to kind of smooth out for when I do the spray, and then just some standard pieces of wood here. Got them cut a little bit longer just in case. So here I'm just taking apart my old desk. Once again, you can repurpose just about any desk that you have. There's even some holes in this one that we used when we finished it as a way to route cables through. So for the wood that we got, we just went to Home Depot. Got some of the cheapest wood I could find, probably spent more than $30 on some wood, but just cut out some measurements, cut a little bit longer than what I would so that I could cut down. As you can see in that box there, I ordered a couple cable raceways. Those make a huge difference when trying to clean up. We can put power surges, which I'll show you guys a little bit, but first we're going to start off by sanding all the wood we have. Alright, so it's getting late and I was going to do it all by hand, but I found where our electric, what's this thing called again? I almost called it a shaver. Whatever this thing is, I'm forgetting the name. Electric sander. Thanks, Matt, behind the camera. But I found the electric sander and I want to hurry up before it gets too dark out here. And alright, let's do this. So with all the wood, I definitely recommend, if you don't have an electric sander, to get one. You definitely can do this by hand, but that's going to take quite a bit of time. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what grit I used. I probably didn't use the right one, but after we got it sanded, we went ahead and just kind of put them on top of each other so you could see how it's going to look. So after I got it sanded down, what I wanted to do is start putting it together again and then start measuring and then cutting. The goal is I want the pieces to be flush. I have those two larger pieces. One's actually shorter than the other, the ones that actually are going to go on top. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to draw a little line onto where I want to cut so that way everything lines up flush and even, and then that way not like one piece is sticking out more than the other. But here things are going good, kind of just putting things together, and then it's time to start cutting. Now, definitely don't cut like this. I'm probably doing this in the most dangerous way, using one of those buzzsaw hand saws there, but this gives a nice clean cut. You'll see here too that some of them, they might have a little crink, but I'll show you what to do when that happens. Alright, so we went ahead, we did our measurements. By the way, zero skills in any of this stuff here, so anything we're doing, probably don't do it a lot safer. This just shows you that if I can do it, anybody can do it. So there, we measured it out. There's still a couple pieces you'll see a little off, so we're going to sand these down to get them nice and flat, and then after that we're going to start applying the paint. So after it was cut, I just went back one more time, sanded down the edges. Whenever you cut it, you'll notice there's little bits of like splinters sticking out there, so just make sure after you do the cuts, round off the edges. It'll also make sure that the edges are nice and smooth and level. All right, so now we got this stain, this paint, well, maybe it's paint, whatever. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead now. We're gonna start getting all this all colored. We're gonna be doing the top parts in the burgundy, like the Project S99 logo there. Yeah, we're just gonna start this off, let it dry for a little bit, see how it turns out. All right, let's do this. So I picked up 2 cans of this spray and a black stain just in case, which I'll show you in a minute, but we actually had to use the black stain for the table. But just going through, applying a light coat here, very important to make sure it doesn't blotch up, so make sure you're kind of going with your wrists in a movement and not just standing there and spraying it. But just gonna do a light coat. I had a brush for if it did get blotchy anywhere, just because I don't want that residue to kind of stick out. But yeah, just going through, applying a light coat over everything, and then I'm gonna come back and then do a second coat once it's done.
She let me sand. She let me sand.
You want to sand?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll get you one of these. So one thing when going and finding a sander, it's important to know what type of grit paper. I'll be honest, I don't know what the right kind is, but as you can see where part of it's getting white, that's how you're looking there, because you want to get back that extra layer. That way the paint sticks in, and also too, there was some used residue from drink spill and whatnot from the old table, so we just wanted to make sure we got it nice and smooth and that the black stain will stick. So this is where we hit our first snag. As I was saying about the whole swiping with the paint rule, Matt here kind of sprayed it on directly, and you can see some of the blotches there. So yeah, just make sure that you're evenly swiping through. Do a light coat first. We did actually go back and sand this down, and then we applied the stain over, which actually turned out really nice. Here it is with the stain. One thing to note, it takes around 24 hours for it to be fully done, so if it's sticky or that, just make sure to let it sit and then give it a wipe down with a rag towards the end. So this step is definitely optional, however, highly recommend doing it. It's drilling holes into the little shelving spots so that cables can route through underneath it. It has been a huge part in how the cleanup has been, so this way there's not cables all over the table. They're all able to run through its own effective little runway. The piece I use to drill the holes is standard, can be found in just about any toolkit. I use the 1-inch marker one to be able to make the hole, and I definitely recommend make the hole a little bit bigger than you think you might, because once you start putting 2 or 3 cables in, then it gets hard to keep putting more, especially if you're doing like power sources or kind of bigger end sockets. To put it together here, I actually just used some wood glue, and on these bottom ones only, I used a couple screws. I just used one just to kind of secure it in, but the wood glue itself I used for the second story there, second level, and it's been holding up pretty good, so even if you don't screw it in, it should be able to hold pretty securely. And speaking of cleanup, these railways for the cables, extremely helpful in cleaning everything up. I got them for about $25 on Amazon. All you need to do is just screw them directly into the bottom of the desk. We put our power strips there, and as you can see here in the bottom right where that hole is, we route the majority of them through there, so that way it can go through the holes that are drilled into those little shelves parts. So initially I was going to either drill or use glue to attach that top part to the actual table, but it's actually been staying on pretty well, I think, with the stain texture itself too. It's kept it in place, it hasn't really moved or budged, and especially since I have floating monitor arms there, one of the things is sometimes when I need to swing them around, I need a little more space, so until I'm 100% sure, or maybe even leave it as it is, but I didn't actually attach it with glue or screws. But here I'm just routing all the cables, doing all the fun stuff. The essentials there, we got the hard drives, we've got a 16 terabyte RAID drive there. We've got a couple more 2 terabytes for when we're working on smaller projects or needing to transfer stuff. But here, just getting all the monitors set up, trying to find where I want to put things and what place is going to be best. But because of the holes there, I'm able to kind of just slip everything through the little railways. And before I show you guys the final product, just want to show you a comparison. This is what the desk looked like before. As you can see, everything just kind of looks like it sticks out more. There's not really places for me to put, whether it be the GoPro, some of these hubs, a lot of cables. This is what it was like before. So many. It's just like a spider web of cables here. So premium desk tray, definitely recommend it. I'll try and throw a link down in the subscription to the materials I used here. But now let's take a look at how it turned out. Overall, I'm really happy with how this table's turned out. I've been using it for about a week now, and just the fact that it's a darker color and that we have the cables hidden away makes it feel so much nicer just to be working and currently editing like I am now. On top of that, it fits along more with the whole room. If you notice, the red's kind of going with our red panels there. And as far as the amount of time and work and effort, once again, with how little skills I have, I was surprised at how easy this was to make happen. There's probably a lot of things that I wasn't doing right, or there could be better ways, or get higher, quality. So if you know any of those things and saw some of the things I was doing was like, that was dumb, throw a comment down below and tell people what not to do or any recommendations. But definitely, I think anybody can do this. It took realistically about a day, but then 2 days I just let the stain dry, and then I stained it again for second coat. But overall, really happy with the outcome. I think it's going to add just a lot more polish to the whole studio, bringing everything more together. So thank you guys very much for giving this a watch. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. And now, with all the extra time you have, go ahead and try and build yourself a new studio desk.